Hello again, everyone. Welcome to investingsuccess.ca. Today is the 5th of February, 2023. And in this video, I want to continue on with my look at the cyclical movements of heliocentric Venus from a particular high point or significant low point on a chart. In this video, we're going to use the S&P 500 as we did in the last video. So to recap, and for those of you that didn't watch the prior video, in this image, courtesy of Getty Images, the sun is shown at the left-hand side of the diagram. All of the various planets, of course, are in orbit around the sun. The smallest planet is Mercury, and it's the closest one to the sun. And as a result of the gravitational attraction by the massive sun, Mercury whips around the sun in 88 days. Venus goes around the sun in 225 days because it is obviously larger than Mercury. There's more mass there. And then here we are on Earth. We go around 365 days. And then obviously, here's some of the bigger outer planets, and they move a little bit slower. Now you can see Venus in the sky. There are times of the year when you can see it in the evening, just as the sun is going down at dusk. You'll see the moon starting to come out. Look up into the sky, up and usually to the right of the moon, and you'll see a glowing ember. That is Venus. There are times of the year also when you will see it in the morning. You have to get up pretty early before the sun rises. But as it's just breaking daylight in the morning, quite often you'll see Venus. So now if we see it in the evening, we call it the evening star. If we see it in the morning, it's called the morning star. And I'm almost thinking that ancient civilizations may have been a little rattled, shaken, because here was a planet that at some points of the year was visible in the morning and sometimes at night. Is there a hardwired connection between the human animal and what goes on in the cosmos? I maintain that there is. And I think Venus certainly exemplifies that, because if you use the financial markets as a proxy for human emotion, we're going to see here once again how movements of Venus impact human emotion. As I said in the last video, the people of the Hebrew faith have an alphabet. They call it the Aleph-Bet. There's 22 letters. And if we assign a numeric value to each of these letters, we'll take the first grouping and they get assigned a value of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 9. The next group are going to get assigned numeric values of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, all the way up to 90. And then the remaining 4 letters in the alphabet are going to get assigned 100, 200, 300, 400. If you do a sum total of all of those numbers, it comes to 1495. If you break that sequence into even numbers and odd numbers, you can do sum totals of the evens and the odds. The odds are a sum total of 625. The even numbers total 870. And as I showed in the last video, if you take 625 and you divide it by 1495, that's 42%. 42% of a 360-degree circle is 150.5 degrees, and that's why the previous video focused on Venus and its 150.5 degree incremental moves. Now, take the even sum total, 870, divide that by 1495, 58%. 58% of a 360-degree circle is 209.5 degrees. So we're going to focus in this video on the 209.5. All right, here's a chart of the S&P 500. I'm going to use as my starting point February 19th, 2020. That was literally a day before the human animal went into full panic. The entire herd stampeded away from the stock market. And as they stampeded away from the stock market in fear, they sold, drove the S&P 500 down sharply. So from that starting point, I tell my Optima software, mark on the chart of the S&P every time the heliocentric Venus has moved 209.5 degrees. And the software will do that for me. Now let's look at what it's unveiled here. So from our starting point in February 2020, the first 209-degree advancement of Venus takes me to the 28th of June 2020. Look what happened. There was a drawdown, not super large, but nevertheless there was a drawdown right at the occurrence of Venus at that 209-degree increment. The market suddenly turns. The human animal becomes positive and begins buying. Next one, 6th of November 2020, markets had drawn down, and literally 1, 2, 3, 4, let's call it 5 days after, 5 days before the exact 209-degree increment, the human animal suddenly becomes very positive and begins buying. And all of the ground lost in this little drawdown is now recovered, and the markets continue to climb. 17th of March, there is actually a swing top that gets created right at that Venus interval. But if you look 1, 2, 3, 7, about 8 or 9 days prior to the exact Venus interval, there was a drawdown, a swing low, and then that pushed up into a swing high right at the Venus interval, and then a pullback. So you're going to get some weird W-type formations that often occur with the coming of Venus at these intervals. Moving right along, the next one was July 25th of 2021. And you can see here, there was a drawdown and a recovery, and the actual swing low was 1, 2, 3, about 5 days prior to the actual Venus 209-degree interval. Next one, December 2021, December 3rd actually. Markets had a drawdown, and right at the swing low, guess what? There's your Venus. It had just made a 209-degree advance from the July 25th increment. And so there's a perfect example of a swing low where the human animal suddenly stops being negative, starts being positive, starts buying. Next one, April 12th, 2022. Market had reached a peak in April, drew itself down, but right at that Venus interval, there was a bit of a short covering rebound. So human emotion temporarily changed, but then it flipped back to negative and the markets continued to go down. So that's quite common at these Venus intervals to see a short covering rally. Okay, moving right along. Next one, August 22nd, 2022. Here's a very clean example. Markets started rallying June, July of 2022, August, and on the 22nd of August, Venus was due to make its 209-degree interval. 1, 2, 3, 4 days prior to that, the S&P hits a very obvious swing high, and it begins drawing down. So Venus played a role in the change of human emotion at that point. Most recent one was December 30th, 2022. Markets had been falling, and then they went into this sideways consolidation pattern. Venus 209-degree interval comes along, and literally 3 days later, the human animal suddenly says, okay, enough of the consolidation, let's start buying, and they push the markets up. And that actually takes us to right here and right now. So if you look at some of these events that I've overlaid here, there's 8 of them, and every one of them, that's 100%, every one has delivered a reaction. Some reactions are small, some are big, but Venus moving that 209-degree increment from a very significant event is something to definitely watch for. You can find heliocentric ephemeral data online. You can also buy yourself Heliocentric Ephemeris book. The one that I use on my desk at home is the American Heliocentric Ephemeris 2001 to 2050. So look at a chart, whether it's a chart of the S&P, the NASDAQ, the FTSE, the Australian Equity Index. Take a look at a commodity, wheat, corn, soybeans, cocoa, sugar, take your pick. Look for a significant high or a very significant low. And from there, you're going to start overlaying these Venus 209-degree increments, either using some software that you've got or using ephemeral data from a table. And you might be surprised what you see. And so to wrap it up, if you're looking for a handy reference book on your desk, which talks about all sorts of cyclical type techniques, give some thought to getting the Financial Astrology Almanac, the 2023 version. If you live in the United States, you can find it at Barnes & Noble. And if they don't have it on the shelf, they can get it in for you. And they'll be ordering it from a publishing company in the southeastern US called Ingram. If you live in Australia, Canada, the UK, they can get it for you, again, through Ingram Publishing. If you want to give some profits to Jeff Bezos at Amazon, he'll probably thank you and use the profits to buy some more rocket fuel. You can get it on Amazon. You can also get it in ebook format, Kindle, Kobo. So it's out there, and I do encourage you to grab a copy of it. And so that's it for today. Thank you very kindly for watching. So again, keep your eye on Heliocentric Venus and the 209-degree advances, heliocentric, from a significant high or significant low. Have a great day. Thank you.